Hi everyone, Angela here. Hey mama, are you curious about using a breast pump right? Whether you're prepping a stash for baby heading back to work or full-time pumping, this simple guide will walk you through it. Let's get started. Maz, if you're pumping often, you should go for an electric breast pump. These pumps are quick and offer suction settings for extra comfort. Quick tip.
To really wrap your head around why people would be so hateful. It's not catty, it's cruel. Why you would do that.
It wasn't until word started getting out about her making people cry, all their staff resigning.
It's really interesting as I can reflect on it. I keep my distance from it right now just for my own well-being.
She had this opportunity to be a princess, right? But she sees more value today in being an influencer.
It's ironic that she doesn't want to be a princess, but she wants to be treated like a princess.
Yes, social media is a environment that I think has a lot of that.
It was supposed to be a moment of solidarity, a powerful woman defending another in the face of relentless public shaming. But the second Meghan Markle opened her mouth to stand up for Rachel Ziegler, the internet exploded, and not in the way she expected.
If you hate Rachel Ziegler, and you don't know why, or you don't have a good reason why, and for that matter, if you hate Meghan Markle, and you don't have a good reason why, I know why.
Within hours, clips of Meghan's latest podcast were circulating like wildfire, stitched into reaction videos torn apart in comment sections and dissected by media outlets hungry for outrage. She didn't just defend Rachel. She aligned herself with her. And in doing so, she may have reignited every criticism the world had been trying to forget about both of them. Because instead of shifting the narrative, Meghan's words triggered something deeper.
As a trained actress, what she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one, right? She's been doing it her entire life. And there is no doubt that she studied, and this is the psychopathic elements of what she does, to have a conversation with her, bursting into tears. And she has convinced there's a thing called in psychology called the Freudian transfer. That is the truth. And it's worked, right? So she's done this convincing performance.
A firestorm of backlash, mockery, and brutal comparisons that left even her supporters speechless. The podcast hadn't even finished airing when the quote started trending. Rachel Ziegler is misunderstood, powerful, and targeted by toxic fandom. That was the line that broke the internet. But the real question wasn't why Meghan said it. It was why she thought it would work. And what happened next would prove just how out of touch these two women had become.
Just become a parody. I just find her so hilarious. Like, if you sat down to write the character of a woman who'd thrown the royal family under the bus, accused them of racism, you've taken the title, but you don't want any of the responsibility, and you swan off to California and make rainbow fruit platters. I mean, she's just a joke.
Rachel Ziegler wasn't always the internet's favorite punching bag. There was a time not that long ago when she was hailed as Hollywood's next big thing. The breakout star of West Side Story, handpicked by Steven Spielberg himself, a Disney princess. In the making, a Gen Z icon with a golden voice and a sharp mind. But somewhere between the dream and the debut, something shifted. The first crack showed during the Snow White press tour.
Cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Instead of promoting the film, Ziegler veered into lecture mode, calling the original animated classic weird, dismissing the prince as a stalker, and hinting that her version would fix all the so-called outdated values, what was meant to be empowering. Came off to many as smug and disrespectful. Disney fans felt alienated.
You've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Traditional audiences were offended, and Rachel, rather than pulling back, doubled down. Then came the Evita drama. Whispers from backstage turned into viral rumors, Claims of diva behavior, screaming matches, and cast tensions. Some said she refused direction. Others claimed she acted like she was above the production entirely. Whether true or not, the damage was done. The internet thrives on perception, and Rachel's image had curdled into something toxic.
And because, I mean, you seem to be dominating the world of musicals. You're doing Evita in London, right?
Big Andrew Lloyd Webber fan right over there.
Is that your dad whistling?
Yeah. You guys see Stanley Tucci back there?
That'll be fun, huh?
It's going to be the best times. My West End debut. I'm so excited.
You've done a lot of Broadway.
Yeah, well, I did Shakespeare for 20 weeks. I'm coming off of that right now.
20 weeks of Shakespeare.
That's a lot.
Did they say, like, the audiences in England are different than the American audience?
I've heard they're more reserved, and I certainly didn't have a very reserved experience on Broadway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in an 800-seat theater in the round, so you really are this close to your audience at times. And I'm with the biggest heartthrob in the world.
She was no longer the talented newcomer with a dream. She was the headline, the scandal, the warning. And as memes flooded social feeds and comment sections turned hostile, Rachel's silence only made things worse. By the time Meghan Markle stepped into the picture, Rachel's reputation wasn't just bruised, it was on life support.
Rachel Zegler as Snow White was met with a lot of backlash for racial reasons because Rachel Zegler is Colombian and Polish, where Snow White is German. Because after the new movie, they're changing why she's called Snow White, where it's no longer because her skin was white as snow, but instead because she was born during a snowstorm. Rachel Zegler personally got a lot more hate was when she said she didn't like the story for the original Snow White because it was a prince saving a princess and thought the prince in the original was a creep. She said for the new story, they changed things around where the male lead played by Andrew Burnap is no longer a prince, and she also threw him under the bus saying he might get cut from the entire movie. She also got criticism because she said her Snow White wouldn't be a maid to the 7 dwarfs, but in this situation, the dwarfs would do all the housework and not her. And she was met with a lot of criticism online, but she pushed back against that, saying she believes there's a bunch of men and people in general who can't tolerate the idea of a woman being the hero in a story. Many have pointed out to Zegler it wasn't the prince that saved Snow White, it was actually the force itself. And she knows that if she watched the movie, but she hasn't seen it since she was 7. I think this is going to lose 100 million with Adam Charles Pearl. Subscribe, learn something.
Meghan Markle has never been afraid to speak her mind. But this time she chose the wrong moment, the wrong message, and according to many, the wrong person to defend. In the latest episode of her podcast, Meghan took a hard stance against what she called manufactured hate and digital takedowns, using Rachel Zegler as her prime example. She didn't name names at first, but it didn't take long before she dropped the line that lit everything on fire. There's a young woman right now, talented, driven, unapologetic, being torn apart simply for refusing to play nice. She paused, then added, Rachel Zegler deserves better.
And when you've been through any level of pain or trauma, I believe part of our healing journey, certainly part of mine, is being able to be really open about it. And I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way. And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed. So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone, or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good, so everything